Everybody, my name is Ben Cain, and I'm here to talk a little bit today about my dad, Bradley Earl Cain. He passed away March 17th of 2000 from an unexpected death. And I've been posting the past few years some stories about his life and such. So I wanted to tell you guys some more this year. My mom and Grandma Cain, which is his mother, were telling me the other day that they used to go down to Pontiac, which is way south side of Missouri, and they used to like to water ski. Well, apparently Dad wouldn't just ski with two skis. He could ski with one ski, and he could also ski barefooted. I didn't know that there was a such thing. I didn't know that you could do that, but he could, so, whatever. And apparently in high school he had a real passion for raising bird dogs and just hunting dogs in particular. And Dad's customers would always come back, a couple years later and say, "Hey, that dog that you sold me ended up being the best hunting dog I've ever had." So apparently he had a good line of hunting dogs. So he did get there, and he had one of his own that was named Birdie that he used to tell me stories about. And she sounded like a pretty cool dog. She used, if the tree was like leaned up over, apparently she would like actually run up onto the tree. So that's pretty cool. I would have liked to have seen that. And when Dad was about 12 years old, he would go fishing and hunting by himself all the time. That was always one of Dad's passions, especially hunting. Well, he went on a hunting trip, and he had pains really bad in his stomach area, and he was really sick. And Grandma Cain came to pick him up and took him to the doctor. Doctor said, "You need to get him in the hospital right now. We need to operate." And Grandma goes, "Well, why?" Said he's got appendicitis, and it's about to rupture. So, she got him to the hospital, and it had ruptured by that point. And they said, had it been 5 years prior to that, it probably would have killed him. And anyhow, I guess he was in the hospital for 10 days. Dad always had a scar. I'll never forget. It was like right here on the side of his belly. It looked like another belly button, so it was really weird. But anyhow, he was in the hospital for 10 days, and Uncle Danny and I guess his wife lived in Florida at the time, and they came all the way up to help take care of Dad, because Grandpa was working a lot and Grandma needed to get some things done and whatever, So anyhow, let's see what else I got here. He also had rheumatoid arthritis when he was about 3 years old, and it was in his knee, and it was really swollen bad, They said he couldn't walk for an entire year. And the doctor told him, "We're going to need you to come have this surgery." And so they took him up there. And by that time, the doctor said, "Well, Brad, you cheated me out of a surgery and out of money." And Grandma and Grandpa were like, "Well, what do you mean?" And the doctor said, "Well, the swollen had gone down so much that they didn't need to do it." And he told Dad, he said, "Brad, you could probably walk now." So I guess when they were leaving the building, Dad looked at Grandpa Cain and said, "Daddy, I can walk now. The doctor said it's okay." So I guess Grandpa put him down, and Dad walked for a little bit, and they said he got tired really quick. Like I said, he hadn't walked for an entire year. And, Grandpa started carrying him again. Grandma said they spoiled him after that. They went and bought him a bunch of toys and stuff like that. And I guess her dad, which would be my great-grandpa, made some sort of thing that he would wheel Dad around in, like this wooden cart, to get around. And she said that Dad also learned the master of hopping on one foot. She said he would hop all over the house, in the yard or wherever. So that's pretty cool. You got to do what you got to do. And Dad was very injury prone. That's how he was as a kid, especially. And I guess him and his brothers went sledding one year. And Dad, of course, had to go first, and he hit a fire hydrant head on. And him and his two brothers come back to the house, and I guess Dad was hiding behind Uncle Brent and Uncle Danny. And they said, "Mom, don't freak out, don't panic. Brad had a little sledding accident." A little one, yeah, right, whatever. That always means it's big. And anyhow, Grandma goes, "Well, move out of the way. Let's see how bad it is." And I guess when they moved out of the way, his face was bloody and skinned up real bad. And so yeah, little sledding rag. And anyhow, when my cousin Derek was younger, he got his airplane license. And he took us all up in his little airplane. It scared the crap out of me personally, but I'm not much for flying. And anyhow, when he took Dad up in the plane, he stalled the engine on purpose and started to let it drop. I guess it scared the crap out of Dad. And yeah, Mom and Grandma were laughing about that the other day. So, and then before Mom and Dad was married, they used to go out to pick blackberries at my other grandma and grandpa's farm. So it'd be Mom's parents. Anyhow, they would they pick blackberries, and Mom said by the time they got to the house, all the blackberries are gone because Dad would eat them. He would eat them also. Yeah, no blackberry cobbler for anybody, I guess, right? Anyhow, there's another story that has to do with berries of a sort. That has to do with me and Dad. And we were growing a garden down there by our fence line in town there. And we had a strawberry patch that we started growing. And I would keep an eye on all the green ones. And right before they got ripe, and Dad would always spot the big one and say, you know, that one's going to be ripe tomorrow. It's going to be ripe tomorrow morning, ready to go. And I would always remember which one he said it was. And I'd sneak down there. And I would get it before he got off of work. And so he started thinking that birds or, you know, something was getting at rabbits. So he started sitting on the deck with the BB gun waiting for this bird or whatever, you know. And so finally I started feeling bad and I fessed up. I was like, Dad, it's me. I'm the one that's been taking your strawberries. So we started actually splitting them up after that. Here's a funny story. I'm not going to mention names, but you know who you are. You know exactly who you are. So this should be fun. Me and Dad and a friend of his were golfing at Wedgwood Country Club. And I was maybe 15. Well, his friend gave me some chewing tobacco. And so, you know, I'm thinking I'm all cool, you know, drinking Coca-Cola. And I didn't know anything about chewing. I was just all cool, you know. Well, I swallowed some tobacco juice. Yikes. And it's a good way to get rid of worms. That's what I hear. Anyhow, so I started getting really, really sick. I guess I started turning colors. And I told Dad, I said, you know, I really don't feel good. There's something wrong with me. And I just started throwing up. And he said, well, what's that in your mouth? And I said, it's chewing tobacco. You know, no big deal, right? Yeah, it was a big deal. He was so mad at me. Oh man, I thought he was gonna take his belt off right there at the golf course. You know, lay it to me. Well, he said they started chuckling. He said, all right, we'll go sit up there underneath that tree, hole 7. Me and my buddy were gonna finish hole number 8, number 9, and you can just chill here. Well, by the time they got back off hole number 9, I was so sick. I threw up so many times, and you know, I'll never forget how miserable I was. Anyhow, we loaded up our clubs and stuff and started heading back towards home in Kabul. And he pulled over probably 3 or 4 more times before me on the highway because I was so sick. And he just laughed and laughed and laughed at that. He said, I guess you'll learn your lesson. That'll teach you. You never chew tobacco. And I can honestly say since that very day, I never touched chewing tobacco ever again. Yeah, I can't even stand the smell of it now. I'll never forget that. And then we were turkey hunting one spring at a friend's farm. And they told us, they said, we have a Holstein bull. He's really, really mean. So keep an eye out. We're like, yeah, whatever, it'll be fine. We've been around bulls and cows and stuff all our lives, rodeos and cowboys, whatever. And so we were coming back to our car from hunting. And all of a sudden we hear, and Dad just turns around and says, bull, run. That's all he says. Bull, run. And I'm like, okay. We're running. And I've got the shotgun. And there's luckily there's space under the fence that we could actually roll under. A good thing, because I don't know what we would have done if not. I don't think I could have made it over the fence in time. Anyhow, Dad and I both hit the ground at the same time, and I'm holding the shotgun like this, and the barrel's like right by my face here, and I'm like, we roll, and our feet are like trying to get, or they're getting tangled up, and like we roll into the ditch or whatever. And it was like a movie. Like, the bull stopped right at the fence, and he was like stomping his hoof like you would see on a movie, and he was, and it just like blew my mind. Dad's like, get in the car before he comes through the fence. We didn't know. You don't know what they're gonna do, and that bull was pissed. Anyhow, Dad's boss, Joe Eisenhower from Tyndall's, took Dad and a bunch of people up to St. Louis, and they went to, I don't know, it's like for a convention or whatever, and they went to a fancy restaurant, and they served them escargot. Well, if you don't know what escargot is, it's actually snails, and none of them told Dad that you're not supposed to chew them, you're supposed to swallow them apparently. And I guess Dad bit into that snail and was sick himself for quite a while. So, yeah, I wouldn't have known either. I mean, who eats snails anyways? Like, really? And, yeah, nah, not me. And, anyhow, Dad actually burnt his arm really bad one time from the wood stove ashes when they, like, blew up on him. And, Mom said that, like, he went driving and, like, had his arm out the car window, and he's, like, trying to cool his arm off. Yeah. Not a good memory about him burning his arm, but, anytime that I smell, like, a wood stove or wood smoke or anything, it always flashes me back, and I remember Dad because, like, that's just a smell I can identify to. He always stacked the wood outside. He always worked the wood stove and stuff. And so, yeah. I love that smell. Anyhow, last but not least, as you can see, I'm wearing a WWF wrestling shirt, and it's like an old school one with some of the guys that, me and Dad used to watch. When I was growing up, every Monday night we watched wrestling together. And our favorite was The Undertaker and Cain and Paul Bearer, which he actually recently passed away too, God rest his soul. And it was so funny because Dad would get so excited, dong, and the lights would go up. And The Undertaker and Paul Bearer are about to make their entrance to the ring. And Paul Bearer was this little scary-looking character. He was supposed to be a mortician. Well, Dad would get more excited than me even, and that always blew my mind. And he would do the little voice that Paul Bearer would do. He'd be like, "Oh yes, Undertaker! Oh yes!" And he did a really good job at it. And anyhow, and he would do that little thing that Paul Bearer would do with his eyes and his face, and it was really, really entertaining. And I loved seeing Dad do that. And I just laugh and laugh and laugh. It was such a good time. And he actually took me to my first wrestling show when I was 10 years old, and it was actually WCW. But yeah, Sting was wrestling somebody in the main event. I don't remember who. It may have been William Regal. Anyhow, like Sting he tossed Sting out into the crowd, and I remember this is my 10th birthday. I don't know if I ever said that, and I like took off running down the stairs, right, and I'm gonna go beat the guy up that's beating Sting up, because Sting was my hero, and anyhow, Dad is behind me and grabs me by the shirt and yanks me and actually ripped my shirt a little bit. So I always thought that was pretty funny. Anyhow, yeah, so I guess that's all I'm going to share this year, because, I don't want to share it all. I wouldn't have anything for next year. So, anyhow, thanks for watching. We love you, Dad. We miss you. And God bless everybody.